Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Electrical Theology. This is going to be a second part to the grid video, or actually the third in 7.3.1. I broke it up into two of them. It would be way too long, so this will be the second half of the first one. Alright guys, appreciate it. Numbering the grid. So we just number these grids 1 through 7, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. Physical, mechanical, chemical, and spiritual, electrical. Right? Same grid, same thing. We're just starting to form the grid now. We're plugging and playing our thoughts into the grid. So each realm, the mental realm, spiritual realm, and the physical realm. I gotta chop my head off there. You can see. You'll have. So on the physical realm, we have an inception. We start something. Inception just means to start. And so this is an initiation. This is your initiation into the human fold. And eventually you'll unfold. But it's up to you to unfold the unfolding moment. There is no past or present in the unfolding moment. It's just an unfolding moment. And we have to come at it with unconditional love, which that in itself is sort of a weird word, because in order to have unconditioned, you have to have conditioned. So it's not really a 1-0, it's more of a Taoism, the formless form type thing. If you don't know what I'm talking about, leave me a comment. I'll describe it a little bit for you if you want. I described a little bit of it on another video, but cool. But once we start something, it's because we have a limitation of something. We have thoughts because we feel we're missing something. Again, this goes with our missing ions, which is our mission, why we're even here. And so as we start getting inspired about this new thought, it can lead to sometimes desperation. So the top row here are sort of the light, and the bottom are the heavies, or light and shadow, whatever duality you want to look at. Plus or minus, I don't care what binary system, but for me, it's just light and heavy. It's simplicity and complexity. Simplicity is because you're coming at it from love and you have your heart in balance with the mind, but the limitation, if you're feeling that, is because your egos sort of run the show, your insecurities, your fears, your less than. You're seeing life from the outside in, not from the inside out. And if you love yourself from the inside, then everything you see outside of you has a component of love, because you're the one observing it. So once we start that, we get inspired, then we become open to the new ways, and we start maturing a little, but we're still a little immature. And then once we take something in, then we're going to take action. So there's passive and action again. So we take that action, and then we have instigation. Instigation has it sort of, on here, should have a little negative tone to it, because that person's an instigator. They like to get other people arguing. Right? We all know these kind of people, right? And they just represent you. A part of you. So if you don't like those people, then look inside, and where do you instigate? But once you take instigation out of the negative connotation, bring it into the light, the easy, the simple, the heart-based, and it's about taking action, acting on your ions. You're the one creating the ions, so act on them. You've studied them, you're inspired by them, and you're the one creating it, so move it on. So through this action, we're going to, at first, deal with our belief systems. Our belief systems were created by the tribes, but belief systems are built on the past. And anything in the past is not now. We're focused on the past. And then some things about the past, especially belief systems, have you worrying about the future. If you don't do what is right now, then you're not going to get into some Valhalla or some afterlife or some heaven, whatever that name is for you, the afterlife. And therefore, it dictates that there should be a before life. So if we are in a life now, then we came from somewhere, so that's a before life, and then a now life, and then the afterlife. You see how this gets confusing when there's only an unfolding moment with an undefended heart. Cool? So as we trade in these old ions, tradition is just trade in the ions. Trade it for new ions. So if your old systems aren't working, it's because you're still trying to create from the past thoughts. You need new thoughts on an unfolding moment. You need to expand beyond yourself by understanding that, hey, there's energy outside of me that is me, so I'm going to call out to me to bring me. That in itself expands the energy. That in itself will access you to the God, or your seven consciousnesses, your God, and then your hierarchy, and so on and so forth. So as we trade in those, sometimes we have hesitations. restrictions, if you will, where because we were brought up in these traditions, and it's not necessarily religious belief systems, it's tribal belief systems, societal belief systems. And just as we have traditions, and we change those traditions, sometimes we hesitate. We make an excuse why we shouldn't move forward, but hesitation is a natural step, and that's okay. Ask yourself, for what reason are you hesitating? How is it serving you to hesitate those ions right now? You're the one who called them in, so why are you hesitating? All right? And then get into the specifics of why you're hesitating, and be able to look at yourself, love yourself. When you reflect upon yourself, do it from a place of love, not from less than. Cool? And then as we make those decisions, after we trade those ions in, we're going to decide, but we're going to decide from love as well. So we're going to decide on ions. Decision is the same as choice. You're going to make choices now. You're not going to make wants, desire, wishes, or any of this stuff. You're going to make a choice. Right? So you're going to decide that I'm going to choose my ions, no one else's ions. I'm going to form my own ions, and then take responsibility for the results. And if I don't like them, I now have the power to change those thoughts. Right? So again, this can lead to frustration. You try to change your life, but then everyone around you is sort of trying to tear you down or telling you, no, that's a stupid road. But if it's in your heart and you feel it, that's on you. You got to make that choice. And if it's coming from a place of love, then you have to present to them that, guys, look, I'm doing this from a place of love. If it's cool if you do it from a place of love and just love me for what I'm choosing. You may not like it, you may disagree, but that's okay too. But just love me while I'm doing it. Right? And then after we make those decisions, then our whole entire perception changes. All right? And we perceive ions differently because we've changed. If someone in your life that you see them and you're like, oh my God, is that same person again? Well, you're going to be the same person until you change your perception of that person. As soon as you change your perception by changing your thoughts, taking responsibility, understanding that it's self-reflection, an internal representation, they are an internal representation of yourself. Once you understand that, now you're aware of it. Now your perception of them changes because you changed. But if they keep looking the same, it means you haven't changed. You haven't changed a damn thought yet. So step up to the plate and then make a new choice. Or if not, that person and everyone in your life will remain the same. They may come in different clothing, but they're still the personalities behind them will always be the same. Cool? Now this video may run a little long, but it's okay. You can watch it in segments if you want, but I'm just going to go ahead and put it all out at once here. So in the mental realm, we have these things. This is now the human emotions. This is like the physical world around us, our physical, mechanical world. This is more mental, into the head, psychology, that type of stuff, philosophy. So in the mental realm, we start with the duration because it's a continuation of the perception. Now you have this new perception, and now how long can you hold this new perception before it's challenged? And when it's challenged, you sort of lose that strength, and then you're depleted. And this is where a lot of times in our life, when we try something new, and it's not going our way because we're hesitating or whatever it is that then we end up having depression because we're pressing those ions down, we're not building them up. Because we keep thinking the same old past thoughts, and the past thoughts, every time they loop, drains the mitochondria, drains the energy out of our cells. So you start getting depressed. You're the one who depresses the button. So quit pressing the button, or do what you want. So after that, we have a reflection. So now we're drained, or the new way has changed everything. Now it's a new way of adapting. So we have to go in there and reflect these ions. Okay, how are we doing? You know, what just happened? What do I need to improve on? What did I do great? Because if you don't sit here and do this reflective part and take responsibility, then you're going to end up with confusion. Confusion is con, fuse, and ion. So what you've done, con means with. The prefix means with. And so when you're with other people's ions, they get fused. And so you get confused. And so these ions create confusion. Just like the fuse in your house, if there's too much electricity coming into it, that fuse is going to blow. And that's what happens during the duration depletion. Number one phase in the mental is that you end up breaking apart or blowing a fuse or getting sick or whatever this word is for you, but it's the body's time to rest. It's time to look within and what is it you need to improve physically, mentally, and spiritually within you. Do you need to drink more organic foods or eat more organic foods? or take more time, quiet walks with yourself, more meditation, whatever this is for you. So once we have that reflection and we're starting to get a little clarity about this confusion, then we end up with new decisions. So just like we made decisions back here on the physical, we're going to make new decisions here in the spiritual, or in the mental. And so in the new directions from reflection, so from this reflection, we're able to have new decisions. We're going to decide new movement. And as we decide those new movements, we have new direction. Right? The deflection here is that we want to somehow, we talked about making excuses or abuses. In past videos we talked about this, is that we don't need to make excuses or justification. Excuses are just use. You're just reusing these excuses over and over again, so that we then deflect that onto other people like it's not our stuff. But this is where taking responsibility comes in, and where you increase and grow and access the higher frequencies, is that you take responsibility and say, hey, it's me, I get it. It's not you, it is me. And then what that leads to is finally you individuate your energy from everyone else's energy. This is individuation. So we're now a conscious, awake being that now has access to the higher frequencies. Right? We'll talk about that a little more. And then we have incarnation or resurrection. And the incarnation and the resurrection is that you now reincarnated yourself. You reiterated yourself. The ions now take on a new form. You are beginning to deconstruct the old form and bring in a new form. Is that making sense? All right. And so we have a resurrection. We're getting a new life, right? Something, we're putting an end to our old life, but we're rebirthing or resurrecting a new life, right? And so then that leads us to a balanced position, right? So now we're a little more balanced in our life. We have to deal with our temperament, our temperament. Let's just leave it at that. We have to deal with our temperament because we're moving away from old and moving into new, and that we get a little imbalanced sometimes. But the goal here, as an individual in rebirthing, is to live the life that you're here to live. And then that leads to your passion. So here we're beginning to get inspired, but now we got the passion. And so we can be tempted at this point to go backward, which is just an illusion. You're just using up more energy because you're not accessing universal energy. You're tapping into old belief system and other people's energy and trying to get their energy so you can get a little hit. So passion is where you're able to pass your ions now, because you're like, hey, I'm doing my own thing now. I'm doing this. It's great. I love it, right? Sometimes I'm not sure what I'm doing, but I still love it, right? I love that I'm my own self now. I set my boundaries, my regulations, right? So this leads to this fascination about living now fully, and this is the spiritual, electrical realm now. So we're tapping into the higher frequencies. In one sense, we're tapping into the hierarchy, right? I won't go into that just yet, but you're tapping into the higher frequency, so you actually get a high. Your cells are vibrating at a higher frequency, so now you're high. Making sense? And again, this can't be sustained. You have to rest. Again, there's an active time to be high, and then passive time to be high. Right? And so then that leads to investigation. You're like, okay, I want more of this. I want to know what else I can do. So you start learning again. You start taking in more information. And then this is where you're beginning to create for the first time. You become your own God. You become the creator. So you create ions, because now you know how to decide which ones you want. You know how to feel about them. You know how to reflect about them. You know how to take responsibility for them. So on and so forth. All right, guys? And once we investigate those, then we're elated, right? Our life is just buzzing, man. Everyone around us, things are going great. The way we perceive life is great, right? Your perception is perceiving ions now from the heart, from the unfolding moment, from love, from compassion. Right? It's not about taking care of everyone. It's not about healing everyone. We discussed that in the last videos. Right? We're just here to be ourselves, and by being ourselves, that glow within us that's coming out, because the cells are going faster and more light and electromagnetism is coming out, you become very attractive. And other people want to know what they have. They want to come and try to take it from you, but you have boundaries because you set them in the individuation stage. And from that, you're now able to then say, hey, I hear what you're trying to do. I appreciate it. But let's do something different if you're okay with that, right? If I have your permission, can we look at this differently? So we're not reacting, we're coming at them because we have a solid foundation now. And with the solid foundation, we're just expressing our own ions at this point now. So we have the panoptic within us, and so now we have the universe within us. Now we can share our verse with us, and that's an expression, if you will, expression of your own individuation. And you did that because you traded in the ions. And we'll talk about navigating this at another time, but for now, that way you know what's always coming in, what was before, and what's going to happen, and what's above you, what's below you. And so then, because of this, we have the ability to observe now and really take in what we created from within that then calls our outcome or results on the outside of us. And so we really take pleasure in that, right? Not an egotistical, prideful type thing. It's a very self-actualizing internal peace, if I may phrase it that way. And so from this, we're able then to evaluate. Now we can value ourselves at the higher. Evaluate just says value. So we can value the energy that we're bringing in and sharing with other people. Right? We're not affixed to anyone else's outcome. We're just sharing we're living our life. And because of that, everyone around us benefits. Right? By your unique message, your unique service. And so finally, we have the completion. We had inception and now completion. So because of the action we took, we have a completion of that process, right? Whatever we set out to do, we've done, and now we can live in that for a while, that cycle, until we start feeling complacency. Then we can amp up to a new octave or a new realm, right? So once we complete this realm, we move into the ancestral realm, the etheric realm, the esoteric realm. So because of that, we now revelation. We now reveal the ions of what we are. We begin to open up to us and see the universe. We reveal the universe to ourselves. And because of that, we now can occupy an occupation, a job, a task, whatever you want to call this, a hobby. We occupy the space with our ions. So we have an occupation now, a real occupation, not some job we hate, but an occupation. We occupy this space, and we occupy these ions and sharing them. And because of that, again, we're passionate about our lives. Right? Hopefully that makes some sense, So you have the first thought. This row is the first thought in the physical, mental, and spiritual. And then we have the completed thoughts of these. Right? And each one expands to the next. If we can master this, then we can master the next and master the next. And then when we get 3 stages complete, then we can go up to a new realm of consciousness. Right? Hopefully that's helped out a little bit. All right, I think that about does it for this episode. I know it's long. I may break it into 2 videos. If it does, I'll let you know about that. But for now, if you like this, please share this video with other people. Subscribe, hit the notification bell. That way you know which video. I'm trying to put a video out each and every day. I plan on doing this for a while. I may ramp it up to 2, but right now I'm still working out some kinks, improving myself, improving this site the way I choose to improve it. And I improve it by listening to y'all's comments. So whatever you want to share with me, I'll take that into consideration. And then if it's a great thing, I'm going to add it in. And I appreciate you doing it. I appreciate your time and hanging out with me, guys. I appreciate and love each and every one of you for this. All right? So next videos, all that good stuff. It's going to continue on the blueprint. I may throw a video in between that on some conscious stuff, but this right now is the blueprint. This can get a little heavy or a little left-brainy, but it's all done from the heart. It doesn't. You can't manifest without the heart. That's the power plane, if you will. All right, guys, appreciate it. We'll check you out next time.